Welcome to Foreign Mastery Access and another month of our Q&A together. I'm very excited that y'all are here. We have a lot in store. I have some great questions from you this month, so thank you all. Make sure you keep contributing. There are a couple of things that are very important for you to know. Ask questions. It's the way you're going to develop your dancing. And I'd like to exemplify this by a very famous celebrity that I'm working with at the moment from Dancing with the Stars. So before we get into that, I want to thank Nancy, Peter and Thawa, Kevin, Ulrich, Salman for all of your questions this month. I know, Dave, you also had one, but I didn't quite understand what your question was, but please feel free to elaborate on it for me in the chat window. That's okay as well. So we've got a lot to get through, but particularly mindset. Mindset is really, really coming across strongly for a lot of people. I think people start to see that there's a correlation between performance and the sort of outcome of learning to dance, right? They sometimes, and again, I've been sort of pioneering this idea for a long time with Dancer AF, right? Dancer as Fuck, right? The podcast that I run that is specifically about mindset, because the celebrity I'm working with at the moment, his name is Dwight Howard. He's an NBA All-Star. I didn't know this. I've never met the guy, but he is on Dance with the Stars, and he's like, dude, I'm really struggling with my paso doble. Like, this is a hard dance. I'm watching your videos on YouTube. I'm like, awesome. And then he says, how can I get better? I said, oh, well, I'm happy to help coach you. This is something I do online. So what do you need? Anyways, I got his phone number. We started talking on the phone. He started sending me his videos, which is awesome. And I started sending feedback to him, right? Getting back bits of information that were just enough for him to improve, but also the overarching thing, right? Because there's so much technique, isn't there, in dancing? But one of the major things that hit me and hit him, of course, that he started bringing up was the mindset, right? Like overthinking, overanalyzing. And so I went through about an hour-long coaching session with him on the weekend, specifically about that problem. And there are some questions from you that we'll deal with at the end that relates to your problem with perfectionism, performance anxiety. And gentlemen, I'm not talking about that type of anxiety. I'm talking about on the dance floor, all right? So the thing was, he was humble enough to want to improve, right? Now, you'd think someone who has 3 million followers on Instagram, is like an 8-time NBA All-Star, played with the Lakers and Kobe Bryant, would be like, no, I can do this on my own. No, he wanted an edge. And I'm like, that's so sick. I'm honored and privileged to do that. A little terrified at first because I was like, damn, what's going to happen? I was like, fuck it. What's the worst that can happen, right? Like, at the end of the day, you got to take the opportunities when they come. Now, I'll show you how advanced some of this work is. Get ready for your mind to be blown from the sheer magnificent technological coaching, right? Look at that, bang. Up you get. Posture up, my friend, posture up. And so his height is like 6'11", right? And partner Danielle's like 6'5'3" or something. So, obviously that's an obvious thing everyone talks about, but he's done quite well. And so the interesting thing is that he's a human like you and me. He has insecurities, he has fears, okay? And he's excelled hugely in one arena, and then now is trying in a different arena where he's not, it's not his domain, okay? But there are corollaries between the two. In fact, I might bring the story up at the end about, and if not, I'll make a podcast on it. I think it's great because we're talking about his like free throws in game time in the NBA when it really, really mattered, and how because of his overthinking, he would often miss shots, and he wouldn't know how to deal with that. But he would get like 90% of the shots in practice, right? So this is what happens to all of us in dancing at some point, and we have to learn to overcome it. We can do well in the studio, but then when we go to the stage, it's like, wow. And the stage can be social too. It can be, you don't dance as well maybe when there's other people around, right? So it's not necessarily just dance sport. Anyway, yeah, so he didn't perform as well, he felt, and he knew he could have done better in the game. Now, what does that say? He's still like a GOAT, like one of the greatest of all time, which is crazy. But imagine if he could take what he did there in his practice onto the game floor. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So we talked about that, and I gave him some ideas for dancing that I'll give to you at the end. All right, it's really going to help you. It's some of the stuff you would have heard from me before because you've been a member of this community. So, and I don't hold anything back, right? Even if one person, by the way, on these lives, Sometimes there's only like me and old Dave. Dave, what's up in the USA? Been with me for years. Sometimes it's just me and him on these lives, right? Like it's not like thousands of people tuning in. Like maybe one day, that's great. I don't really care that much about the amount because I love the work. And I know at the back end, like there's way more views that come later on, you know, with this sort of stuff down the track. So I love the work, right? So I hope you do too. Hope you appreciate the work we're doing together. And I want you to see it as that because it's a community and it takes time for us to get better. And by doing this, I also improve, all right? Now, I'm not gonna lie, this morning was a real struggle. I only had like 3 hours sleep. Tired, man. I'm preparing for comps that I'm doing pro-am. My God, I'm exhausted. On top of that, of course, got the two beautiful children I'm trying to help raise into good human beings, and then all my business is starting to grow. You know, so there's lots going on. So there's always an excuse or a reason not to do something, okay? And this is why I think it's important to be accountable. So I'm accountable to you. I showed up. I was like stretching, like, come on, get balance, get the old legs going, trying to get going. And I know if I didn't have the goal or outcome to come to you today, that one, I wouldn't have my makeup on. What's up? I wouldn't be all like semi-fresh, ready to go. I'd probably just be like still sleeping for a little bit longer because I like my 8 hours no matter what time I go to bed. And I would be then dragging my sorry ass out of bed and trying to get the day going, probably around 10 a.m. or midday, right? Because of the late night I had. So the point is show up, right? Show up, no matter how you feel. It's very, very important. Now, I will caveat that and say, of course, if you're burning the candle at both ends, that's going to be a problem. So for me, like I said, I always try to mitigate the crazy lifestyle I have by rest, right? Sleep and spa days and things like that. So find your way. Now, let's not get off the track. I want to get into the questions, but before we get into that, there's one more little thing. I also have some merch that I've been working on, okay? So I think this is sick, right? It's a cool hat, it's embroidered. Now, there's different styles. I'm not sure. I'm going to come out with a few different ideas, but I like the trucker style hat. I mean, you can tell me which one. You may not be a hat person, but you know, like you do, you know, Dave, you're doing yard work right now, right? So, you know, wouldn't this be great? Stop me getting burnt. Maybe for ladies with a white hat, I'm not sure. But either way, I'll have those up and some t-shirts and things like that. I'd really like to get that going. And I'll share a bit more of my personal story about why I've been a bit quiet with a lot of things at the moment. But we are going to do this together, my friends. And I'm very grateful that you're here and you're watching it no matter where you are. We're doing this together. All right. So let's get into the questions today. These are very, very cool. And if I've forgotten anything about what I said in the intro, I'll just message me and I'll add it in next month. All right, let's look at the WALTZ. Okay, that is my hair. Let me just bring this camera back. What's up, face cam? Okay, so Nancy. Hi, Vaughan. I so appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. For the background, I'm Silver Dancer and we'll be doing competition in the first week of December. Congratulations, that's fantastic. I've done two before about 6 years ago, pre-bronze level. Okay, different instructor. You have a different coach who's more dynamic. The former coach was focused on social aspect of dancing. The new coach is focused on the individual dancer's skill and performance abilities. Great. That's sort of what I do too, right, in that space. So both my husband and I dance. I will compete with my coach, so pro-am or coach student, yeah? I have been with this coach for 2.5 years. I feel so many aspects of my dancing that need to be improved upon, but before that, I realized I would feel the same a year from now. Okay, unfortunately, about 6 weeks ago, I had a severe ankle sprain. I'm recovering. Sorry to hear that. That sucks. We need the feet and ankles. I understand what that's like. I broke my toe in August of that. That was interesting. We have just started to begin practicing hard again, and we have lessons 3 times a week until the comp. I know I have to really work on keeping my position to the left more than I realize, and the shoulders down and smile. Okay. So keeping your left side more. Okay. I've sent my first video recording of the WALTZ. I see a million things to correct, and what are my top 3 takeaways? And what advice would you have? Okay, so we will review that video later on. And this is great. Remember, these reviews are really good, everyone, because it's not about your level. This is something I want to talk about with performance later on as well for everyone. But it's not about your level, it's how you do things, okay? So the level is sort of irrelevant. It's one of the reasons why, like, I drop my ego. I don't really care who I coach in that sense. I'm not like, I only work with the best dancers. Like, no. Like, my thing is I like the people who are just beginning and then making them great, you know? And that's what I like to see for people. It's harder fuck, it's harder work, but it's really rewarding. It's so honestly, guys, like in performance coaching, it's so easy to work with someone who's already good. You know, like if you've got a top dancer, it's so much easier to work with them, right? But who got them there? There's always a coach or two under that nobody knows about, that gave them all the basics, got them there for the years, and then they go off and work with the, you know, quote unquote top coaches, which, you know, of course they are top coaches, but they get all the credit for some reason, all the glory. It's like they're not the people that got them there, you know. Obviously the dancers did, but I digress. Now, Peter and Thara have a question here, which is a technical one, which is good. And to frame this, here's the question first. So, hi Vaughan, can you please explain how to properly do an open natural turn in the waltz for both the man and lady? In our routine, the preceding step is an open telemark, then an outside spin, and it follows the open natural turn. Open telemark, then the outside, and then outside spin turn. It follows the open natural turn. Okay, so I'm having trouble reading that, but I'm going to assume something here. And I know I've nailed this before with you guys because it is hard to write the correct way things are done. I'm going to explain two things. So first of all, there is the open telemark is a standard figure, and the open natural turn is also standard figure. And the two can be linked together. The outside spin is also a standard figure. So there are three separate ballroom figures, okay? When you combine the open natural turn and the outside spin, the figure becomes an advanced figure, not one that's in Dance at Home, one that's in the purple book, okay? Now, I may make an addition to Dance at Home at some point based upon the advanced figures, because a lot of people do these. So what happens when you amalgamate those is the timing changes and the figure becomes fundamentally quite different. So I'm going to explain that in physical form in a second so you can understand. Now, hopefully the figure I'm going to focus on is what you're doing, but if it isn't, you're still going to be able to take something away from it for sure. Okay, so it's much appreciated. Thanks so much, Peter Thara. Thank you guys as well. You're all old school around here. Love it. You've been with me for a few years from New Zealand. So let's get into this step. So the figure we're looking at here, the open telemark, so everyone can understand. Lady's doing a heel turn. Okay, let's get my little screen up here. Boom, so I can make sure I'm in the correct position for you. Okay, so, boom, boom, boom. So, gentlemen, open telemark, you're going to promenade, yeah? With your, I should say, at the end. Now, an open natural turn, you would go forward 1, then step on the toe of the left foot for 2, and then step back on 3 there with the right side, okay? That's an open natural turn following a promenade figure. Now, if it's from here, you like my socks? So at least you can see the shoes, yeah? So if from here you're doing an outside spin, okay, this is where the actual step, the technique becomes a quick outside spin, and that's the step I'm going to focus on, okay? So the outside spin in and of itself, ladies and gentlemen, it starts by the man turning the left foot back in CBMP, so strongly turning with CBM as well, then rising up on the right foot heel toe, then pivoting on the left foot with a toe pivot. So the outside spin, I call it the cousin of the spin turn, right? So you're going back for 1, 2, and then pivot 3, right? That's the actual step there. Now, ladies, of course, on their outside spin would be going forward on the right foot in CBMP outside the partner. So heel toe on 1, closing the toes together, and then doing a toe pivot like that. So she's going 1, 2, 3, okay? Finishing wherever the alignment is. So now let's look at the actual advanced figure called the, what is it called? The quick, the actual name, yeah, quick open natural turn and outside spin. So what this figure will look like, just to demonstrate it first of all, I'll go this way, so from promenade, this is a bit of a moving figure. So 2, 3, I'll just be in promenade. Now, 1, 2, 3, and 1, and. Okay? So try it this way. This is the man steps, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, and. Okay, so you can see it's very strong rotational step. So as I cross behind, right, in the open natural, I'll explain the difference here in a second. The feet are going to close, and then you create a very strong outside spin at that point. Now, okay, if I demonstrate that as lady steps, then I'll get into a couple of the tips you can focus on. So ladies, when you're in promenade on this right foot, you're going to step forward on the left foot. So 1, forward, 2, 3, lower. Now, here's your outside spin. You're going to come around the man. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So it's basically the same technique for you as the traditional outside spin. Okay, that's in the standard technique book, which is a very lovely figure. What changes for the man is step 3 of what's it called? The open natural turn. So what I'd like to explain here is for Peter particularly to focus on the third step. So if I go forward on the right foot on 1, that's promenade and CBMP. Step 2 is just left foot to the side. That's where you're creating your turn. The third, normally an open natural turn, you would step straight, like straight back in 2 tracks like that, right? With a right side lead, okay? Now, what's happening here, you can't actually do that. You have to take the third step in CBMP. So remember, that's a fancy way of saying 2 tracks become 1 track. Now, what happens at this point when you lower, your feet close, yeah? This is important because normally on the outside spin, what do? You normally take the left foot back to begin the figure, but because of this position, your feet close and we create something called an open heel pivot. Say it with me, open heel pivot. What this means is the feet are together, as we just said. So this is step 4. And I create a turn through my heels with the feet flat. So I'm going to soften the knees and turn through the heels. See that? That was my beginning of the open, what's it called? Please forgive my brain today in terms of the sleep deprivation. So the outside spin. So there's my beginning. Then I go forward on the right foot, rise up. I continue turning on the right toe. The left foot comes around. This is the open toe pivot. So my left foot on the toe as I lower continues to pivot. Now, how much turn? Well, it really depends. So what I'm aiming for here, this whole thing I'm going to dance diagonal to wall, and then I can continue into whatever's next. So for example, so I'm going diagonal to wall, right? And then I'm going to back diagonal to wall. I'm going to close my feet. I'm going to create my turn. I'm going to continue going diagonal to wall, right? Then when I do the open toe pivot, backing diagonal to wall, probably facing it or wherever the next step is. It's very strong, right? This is why when you blend the two together and the timing changes, you start to then create a more advanced figure. Quick personal story, okay? Just in case y'all are wondering, this is going to be a long one. But this figure particularly, I actually have a bit of a fondness and pain associated to it. And fondness because it was one of the earliest steps in my routine with my coach Penny from the earliest days I can remember. And but beeping myself out, I could not for the life of me understand how to dance that open heel pivot. Okay, it is so hard. Now I can dance that and it feels like buttering toast for me now. It's so easy, the movement. Okay, so please remember, after over 20 years of dancing, you can do it. Okay, if you don't do anything else, you can be able to do that smoothly. All right, so if you get a little frustrated, it's okay, because I was there too for ages. Every lesson would be like, we need to do that step again, and she'd be like, no, Vaughan, what are you doing? And I was like, I have no idea. She said, you must close your feet. You've got to turn with energy. And I'm like, ah. And what I would find is when I move, right? This is part of the problem, guys, and ladies, of course, and Thara, I'll go through your steps in a minute. But because of this swing, right, and the foot going back, your body weight can fall backwards, and then you can't close. Because what you must think about, are you ready for the revolutionary idea? You have to think about your lady. Ah, it's amazing, right? Like, thank you, pay me the big dollars. This is incredible advice, isn't it? But if I can close my feet together and then take my left side, see how strong that is, around, I'm going to be able to pivot incredibly strongly, right? You know what? I might even try it to music. It's been, dude, guys, it's been so, I have not danced this freaking step for years. So I was very happy when you said this because I immediately remembered it and also went, why would you do this to me? Why would you give me this step of all the steps? Thankfully I've done it enough in my life that I was like, it's still in me. Please forgive me. Here we go. Yep. Okay, cool. I'm assuming there's some music there. Okay, so the timing of it goes 1, 2, 3, and 1 and. 1, 2, 3, and 1 and. Okay, I'll try to hear. I can't quite hear that myself. I'll try. So. Okay. Now pick the now thorough. Okay. Now, where are we? Come on now. Okay, so let's look at Thara's steps. So she's going to come forward on the left foot in promenade and CBMP. 1, okay? Rise up on 2, on a toe, and 3, come straight forward. Man's in CBMP, you are not, right? Because with your left foot, and by the way, your left foot going forward doesn't have a side lead, okay? You are just straight and your head's a little bit to the left, right? Don't over exaggerate it. Now lower the left foot, the open natural turn is now done. With your right foot, heel toe on the first step, so basically you're doing like the normal steps of an outside spin for the woman that as far as I can tell, is the same in both books. It's the man's steps that are different there on step 3 and 4. So you're going to go forward on the right foot on the heel, curving around. Peter, please don't go to the moon. Like don't try and go over there. Curve around your partner on this step. So you're curving the step, close the feet. Because remember, he's on the spot, right? So your step has to sneak outside of him, and he's going to be like, come on, Tara, and he's going to be getting a nice little heel thing going on, and you're going to work together. So around him, then you close your toes and then continue the pivot. Now, technically after that, as a simple combination, you would do, I think steps 5 and 6 is of a spin turn to finish, or you would do syncopated pivots, right? So that's typically like a better way to go, because as the man, right, if I did the outside spin and I created that turn, it'd be nicer to continue with my pivots, right? And then off I go. So it's just because it's got a lot of energy. Anyways, I hope I guessed that step correctly. Now, the main thing to focus on, okay, besides the timing difference, is going to be step 3 and 4 for you, Peter. Understanding 3 is in CBMP. For those who don't know what the hell that means, because they're still understanding the definitions of dance, put your 2 feet together, okay? Take your right foot in a straight line back. That's 2 tracks, okay? So when you walk, you're in 2 tracks. CBMP means contra body movement position. The feet go from 2 tracks into 1, okay? So that's what I'm talking about for Peter. He's going to step there. Thara, you're going to be on your left foot there. And then the feet come together and you do the heel pivot. Anyway, so I've explained that a lot in great detail. Feel free to go back through it. And importantly, send me a video of your steps, all right? This is one of the things that can help mitigate issues if we're trying to do this together, is what you write might be a little different to what it is, but fundamentally, there'll be something you can definitely take away from that. Now, just so everyone understands how much how nerdy I am with dancing, okay, and what I love and the way my brain thinks is, this is like the information that we get as teachers, yeah? You see all those little chart headings there? Well, that's the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the steps in the actual figure. And then you've got all the feet, like the footwork, the positions. Going down, you got alignment, you got like rise and fall, CBM, sway, head weight, timing, the timing of the different dances, and then of course notes along with it. Now you might think, oh, that's great, I'd love to know all that. Part of my job, and what's helped with, say, Dwight on Dancing with the Stars, is, I don't know, I seem to have an ability to be able to strip away the not important stuff. It's all important to an extent, but it's a hierarchy, and then what's going to matter the most. And what I've found with the majority of people is they just don't need to know most of this information at all. What the teacher needs to know is this information to sort of see what's missing. But if you were to focus like primarily on just like I suppose, like, because you could say it's all important, but if you focus on alignment on your dances, for example, to me that is less important than you understanding how to move your feet properly in time, right, to the music, for example. So using the footwork better, using your foot positions better, you understand? And by doing that, you already get the alignments because the alignments work with the feet positions, you see. So the point is that even though you might have a thirst for knowledge, when you're learning to dance and trying to improve your dancing, you can get analysis paralysis by having too much information, okay? So trying to strip it back is really, really important. And one of the things with Dwight that I noticed for him was like, well, look, I've got all this information. His paso doble was very rough. So what do we tell him? Do I try and make myself look good and tell him all this shit to do? And in 3 days, he can't do any of it. And now he's overwhelmed even more, right? That's not helpful as a coach. So I'm not saying any coaches do this, but it's important that less is more, okay? And then as a student, it's important for you to figure out that pieces of information is what I need today and to then put it in your body. Does that make sense, all right? Anyway, so yes, get the books if you want to, but you do need to sort of be trained on how to read and interpret them as well. Now, not that it wouldn't hurt, but yeah, it does definitely help. Now, is there one more thing I can tell you on this? So the open heel pivot, I'll read this for you, Peter, this is good. So the open heel pivot on 4 will allow continuation of the lady's movement so that it is unnecessary to create the fault of pulling with the arms to lead the lady. Okay, so let me write that again. The open heel pivot, which is, remember I told you about how we're going to turn the body strongly, right? If you create that action, you're not going to pull her. That's our goal. And note the feet are flat. So the reason, okay, so that's important because that's if we're doing it this way. I want to bring something to attention real quick and then we'll move on. So step 3 is here on the open natural. Now, when you close your feet together here, what they're saying is rather than stepping backwards, that's going to create a pulling action, right? So what we want to do is have this moment in time. Now soften the knees here, by the way, so you can create a strong turn and then come out, okay? Work on that little action there. That was a nice little piece of information to add. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me. Let's get into what's next, guys. What do you think? Boom shakalaka. We are on the jive, and that again is my head. Okay, so Kevin in the UK, you talked about chugging. If possible, demonstrate with a partner the variations of chugging and jive. Okay, chugging and jive. Not to ignore your question, but go into Dance at Home and have a look at that. Now, I know I filmed most of that because, again, part of that was through, excuse me, COVID and whatnot, but I didn't do it with a partner. It could always be better, right? I could have done, more demonstrations to music, variations with a partner. Oh my God, at some point, like you gotta call it, right? So have a look at that, okay? And then come back to me with a video of you dancing the chugging so I can have a look at what maybe the problem is, okay? One of the things you have to think about though with chugging, okay, is your right hand has to extend and retract. So you need your right arm actually helps a substantial amount with you working with the lady, okay? So that's one of the things. So check that out and come back to me. Ulrich, in our jive routine, we have an amalgamation that I, as the man, are straight behind the lady with no hold, and we both do a left point, a right point, followed by a left foot kickball change, and then 4 chicken walks. So it must be left foot first. So what is it? Let me just get this bad boy over here. So you got, where you at? So you got your left foot point, close, right foot point, close, and then what? Flick ball change. Is that right? Left foot ball change? Yeah, cool. So you're going what? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that, right? Okay, so let's try again. So point. Now when you point, right, turn your right hip towards your foot. This is important for jive action, right there. Then lift it up, close, and then put the heel down lightly on the floor, and again. Okay, so I wouldn't be dancing these up on the balls of the foot the whole time personally, but it's up to you and what your coach says. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now as you flick, flick ball change. Flick ball change, right? So the ball change is actually quite hard. So flick up on the balls of both feet, right foot ball change. Now, when you do the chicken walks, let's talk about 2 ways of chicken walking, all right? I know you looked at this in the Dance at Home video and you updated your question, but chicken walks, right? First of all, you're both dancing the ladies' chicken walks technique, I would imagine, right? So your left foot's going to go forward, and again, the hip turns in. You retract the foot. Normally, unless you're staying on the spot, again, up to the coach and the choreography, and you put the weight down. Then the right foot comes in, you retract the foot, and then there, boom, yeah, right? So you're trying to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that feeling, okay? Often people confuse those with plats in samba and they swivel. Now, what that really is called a solo chicken walk. Like it's an advanced version of the standard one. What happens with these chicken walks is you open the thigh and you dance on the ball of the foot like that. And you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that you can notice a very different feeling. Now that I actually use that quite a lot with my students who are more advanced. We will do solo chicken walks side by side and we'll be like a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and then go into some like kicks and shunts, right? Shunt is just a cool word, right? So you've got point, close, point, close, flick, ball change, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, spirit fingers, yeah? Okay, now, can you go in depth on chicken walks and how to make them attractive? Not just some wiggling. Okay, is putting my right hand on the right shoulder of the lady something you would do? Oh, definitely, yeah. You want to be like, you want to control the bitch. No, I'm just kidding, right? So you want to definitely lead the lady. No, hold her, right? Hold the shoulder. I wouldn't do the waist, but it's nice as a thing. Sometimes you can even hold the hands, right, and dance it together. It really just depends on the look. The free hand, what I always, just do this for me, everyone. Just like shake your arms because people get very stiff when they dance, right? You want your arm in jive, this free one. This is something that helped me a lot because I used to, it's too gimmicky if we do styling like this all the time, yeah? So you want your free arm to have a bit of looseness to it, yeah? So just, here's your exercise, everyone. Do this with me, right? So pointing, we're pointing, and then flop your arms a little bit, right? Just get them loose, get them loose. So this one can hold, just like wag this around and around. Look like you have forgotten your medication this morning and you're having an arm seizure, right? Get that thing going. So why is that important? Because you need to feel how loose that arm is. Now, if you just keep it there, it should have a natural look and feel, yeah? But if it's stiff, look at the difference, yeah? So now it's way too tense. That's okay if you want a look like that for a little bit and then bang, you loosen it up a bit, yeah? So that feeling is going to be important throughout all of this. You can put it behind if you want to style it. And so what I would focus on is having a very clear straight leg and point, but people forget this all the time in jive too. The leg that you're standing on works a lot. Look how much I'm bending and using the leg that I'm standing on, right? So I'm not focusing on the points only, right? I'm going to use both actions. Bah, bah, whoop, boom, boom. Yeah. Even on the ball change, try to keep the weight backwards and turn the foot out. So there's a lot in that, but you'll find, I guess, between the two, a good base in the legs and then a nice free upper body. You're going to look magnifique. Okay, let's get back on that face cam. So, okay, what's next, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, that's a little, hey, video. What? Well, this is good. I'm excited to see this actually. This would be cool. But before we get into Nancy, because I think I put her video a little further down. So I'd like to come back to that in just a moment with Kevin. Now, normally I only answer one question per, per thing, but we missed last month. And I think part of that too was not necessarily because people didn't put questions in. I had a bit of an issue with the email that's going out. So anyway, I figured something out and it seems that more people responded. So very important you send questions in, otherwise I won't do these. But I'll honor you today, give you another answer as best as I can, because I don't really go through the chugging. All right, so how about this is good actually. So when practicing a quick step or Viennese waltz, for example, if you only have very limited room, smaller than the ones I do my broadcast from, this is like, small. So would you practice individual figures once, go through the footwork, or how would you practice the body swing and sway if applicable? I remember you saying you used to practice in hotel corridors. Man, you have a good memory. You have a good memory. You know, it's sort of good people are watching my stuff, and not because of, it's me, but like, you don't know, right? And like, I know I talked about that buried deep somewhere in a program, so that's cool. I asked this because not everyone is able to go into a dance studio or hall to practice. I agree. And one of the problems with modern dancing, and this is so important for everyone to know, you need to keep a membership going. Whether it's me or someone else who does this sort of thing, which is basically no one because I can't be bothered. The dance world's changed substantially. Me as a studio business owner, like 30 years ago, I could have had a place, a rental, cheap rental, could have had a big venue and be able to, you know, freely run it profitably and continue. But those days are gone. Now you hire a hall. The halls are becoming more scarce. They're obviously more expensive, but they're becoming harder to get because they get developed. So the dance hall is changing. So floors are actually becoming smaller to dance on, right? They're not becoming bigger. And any modern developments have more pillars, right? So you're not getting these spaces we used to. So what we do with Dance at Home, I was always thinking like, I need it in a way that we can all do it no matter what happens around us in the world. So here is what you do. I'm going to give you 2 options, maybe 3, but this is for everyone, right? To how to practice. And by the way, Dance at Home is giving you that clue, right, to start with. So what you said was correct. You practice one figure really, really well. So you take the figure that you want to dance, and what do you focus on? We'll talk about in a second. And dance that very precisely, right, with the feet. So footwork first, you know, working that action. Posture has to be there, and of course the upper back and body. So if you're doing Latin, it's very important you're holding your body in a correct manner, and your arms, because the arms can, you know, they're not going to hopefully hit things, right? So you practice that figure. Now what you can do then is have the preceding figure in your routine and then connect it to that one, right? So this is what is not happening necessarily in Dance at Home where I teach a figure. It's sometimes I do before and after. In your routine, practice the step before, the figure you just worked on, and the one after in the space you have, okay? So does that make sense? So if you're practicing, I don't know, New Yorker, and then you in the, let's look at waltz, right? So for example, sorry, you asked about quick step, so we'll use quick step. So say you have the V6, okay? And so you're doing the V6 on your own. So it starts with the right foot going back, okay? And you're doing your lock, focusing on all that jazz. And then you've got your little outside change part of it. That's the V6, okay? And then you step forward on the heel. So what did I just do? Well, what I'm going to make sure I do is not shrink. I'll hold my posture, my frame, and my body in a great position as best as I can. Now, I may not be able to step big, right? So I can't go like quick, slow, right? I've got, where did I go? You see? So I couldn't even finish the step. So the actual flight and movement is going to be the thing that is lost, and that's okay. But we do focus on the clear footwork, yeah? So I'll still work on keeping my feet in contact with the floor, and I'll still work on creating beautiful heel to toe for the lock, and then unlocking and lowering, right? So you see I'm using my legs a little differently, right? And then I'll go back, so I'm practicing CBMP, my body, my arms. So everything's in the alignment that I want as best as I can, and then off I go, and then down, okay? Now, in terms of adding the preceding step, what would that be? A spin turn, okay? What would I do after that? Probably another spin turn if that's the routine, or a lock, whatever it is, but I'll add the 2 together. So, because hopefully you've worked on the spin turn as well at some point. So you do your spin turn, keeping the frame, right? Spin, and then aim to do the lock. You see? Boom, up, down, and then you might have to create a lock into this corner, but you notice even within this space, I could at least use natural spin turn, V6 and a forward lock, which moves a lot in this tiny area. So you can definitely do the same. Notice what I tried to do, keep the body in a good position, despite not having the room to move. I encourage wedding couples to actually do this too. I'm like, I don't have the space. It's like, no, less space is so good because you need to learn to control your dancing, right? Because often their problem is big steps. So they're gonna learn. So I'm like, put stuff near you if it helps, right? So you don't hit it. Now for you, that's one option. So I kept my alignments and I did my steps. Then do it to music, okay? So same thing with the music. Let me try. Let me see if I can walk my talk, dance my talk. If I have a quick step here, I think I do. Okay. 6, 7, slow. Quick, slow. Slow, slow. Quick, slow, slow. Quick, slow. Quick, pull. Okay? The risk paid off. Yes. Okay. So you'll find just doing that alone, you're going to dance differently to if you have a huge hall where you can swing to your heart's content. Okay. Now, the next type of practice that I could recommend you doing, so I'd say the outcome there is not necessarily to link, like, it's not continuity. You're not trying to build stamina or anything of that nature. You're just trying to create good muscle memory and all that sort of thing. I don't know why I go on this tangent, but muscle memory is not really a thing. It's more about your nervous system wiring more than your muscles. But anyway, so the second idea is to try the whole routine, but with no alignment. So this is like more intermediate and advanced. And this is how you become intermediate and advanced. And this is why I could dance in a corridor and whatnot, because what you aim to do is maintain your frame all the time in ballroom. This is what the main goal is in this. Now, the second one is zero alignment. So I remember Anthony Hurley, when we're having lessons with him, because I would talk to him about long side of the room, short side. He's like, what is that? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there is no long and short side. I was like, well, it's a rectangle, isn't it? And the line of dance, there's 4 of them. He goes, the line of dance is a continuous line. I was like, okay, yes. And he goes, well, what do you do if the floor is a circle? And I was like, what? I've never danced on a circle before. Then I thought of the Royal Albert Hall in London, where a massive championship is held every year. It's like second, or it's almost more coveted than Blackpool in some ways, but it's a circle, right? So he's like, what do you do with that one? I'm like, oh shit, yeah, where's diagonal to wall? It's like, it's everywhere. I'm like, wow, wow, my mind is blown. I'm like, ah, my analytics. Anyway, so it's a circle, isn't it, in that sense? So diagonal walls like almost everywhere. So the point is that we have alignment. I teach very structured so you can learn. Then, like I was saying to Dwight, which we'll get to in a second, you've got to learn to let that shit go. This is how you actually become a good dancer. And your feet still operate the same way. Heels and toes won't change just because of this, okay? But you learn to curve. Now, how? And I'll tell you all right now because you're fantastic members and you're amazing, right? Hell yeah. Your course that's complimentary in this, that I did with Anthony Hurley, there's a lesson in there. It's a short course. It's super powerful, right? On rotation. Go watch that video again, because it is literally the secret to how to curve things. And I'll give you an example, of course, but to learn to curve your movements, you have to know how to rotate in the standing leg. So Kevin, this is important for you because it is not what you dance, it's how you dance it. So it's not the size of the room, it's what you do within the room, okay? So let's understand this a little better. If I look at, I hope to God I can remember the routine. I've got like 2 crazy quick step routines. I'll dance one of them. Like again, like it should just come back to me, and I'll dance it here and see how it goes, right? Because we can all take risks together. But the idea being, here's what I'm going to do quickly for those who again haven't seen that video or don't know what the hell I'm talking about. When we go to create movement, all right, and this will all come together in a second. When we create movement, we have forward movements, sideways movements, diagonal, whatever. That's it. We can turn left and right. We can pivot. And of course, we can spin and rotate, etc. Spin, pivots, rotate. So with those movements alone, we ballroom dance as a partnership. Okay. So what we end up doing is we have alignments so we can create certain amounts of turn around each other, or spins around each other, or like foxtrot, we can move in a certain direction in a long, elongated walking fashion. Okay, we know we go that direction together, then we curve and go that direction together. Now the question is, when you want to create turn, what do you actually do? So is it the foot that's going to do it, right? And then the body? And you might think, well, yes, because I'm going forward and my body's going to turn. It's actually the leg you're standing on. So if I'm on my left leg, but a natural turn in the waltz, for example, or the quick step in this sense. So I'm going forward on the right foot, then to the side with my left foot, and then I close. All right. Here's the thing. Watch how you use this left leg. If I actually start like I'll do it this way, actually, it's much easier. So if I was going forward like that, this left leg is going to rotate, look how much inwards. Now, the reason that's important is because I'm not just stepping forward, I'm going to soften the knee and start to turn it in. That's going to create my CBM, right? So my side's turning, then I can curve that natural turn if I want to. Do you see how much turn I can make? I can do way more. You check this out, right? So if I bend that knee and flex it and turn it more, I can go there. See, quarter of a turn. So although the alignment has completely shifted, I can now go from here and then up into my natural turn. Get it? And you say, how'd you do that? Well, actually, it wasn't the body, it was the legs, yes? So this is why I stress to all of you when you're learning to dance, to understand your legs and feet. When you are learning to do the steps, where they go, which is the alignment, the footwork, heels and toes, all of that stuff, the foot positions, left, right, close, open, all that jazz, the legs are still there. And one of the things that people don't do very well, are you ready, is they don't lower. People really suck at lowering in ballroom dancing. And lowering is not only, it's the heels going down, but then there's a flex in the knees. And it's this part that is what is responsible for setting up the rotation and the turn. So try this with me. Soften the knees and just start like, see, I'll do it this way. Keep the feet together, ankles together, right? Turn in your feet for me for a second, yeah? Now, bend the knees forward and then straighten them. Bend the knees forward and straighten them, okay? Now, turn in the knees just a little bit. So feel the knees sort of circling out and in a little bit, right? Now we'll do that with the upper body and you'll notice the body will naturally turn. Keep the head still, all right? Now you'll notice this, what's this doing? It's preparing you to swing, okay? This is in the body, not actually stepping. So when you add the two together with a step, you'll notice that turn is very natural in its feeling. Like the actual, not the natural turn, but the feeling is natural when it works. Now when we lower in quick step, all right, so you're up on your toes, the heel touches the floor, the knees get to work like you just did for the next step. And it's that thing is what people miss, because what happens is they barely lower on the heel and then they're stepping, right? So they're going up and then boom. What they haven't done is prepared the step properly. See that? Now, good tip for you, for quick step, you don't, that was more waltzy. So you do more of it in the waltz than the quick step. Now, let's look at a quick step routine that literally would fill a basketball floor. Whose routine? Let's do that one. So, okay, so you'll notice the legs, I was really needing to like work them into the position, but there was zero alignment. Like I was not worried about that at all. I was just trying to get the steps and the timing. Okay, so there's your answer and something that can help everyone. And by the way, think of the skill development there. If you can get that to happen with someone in your arms, dude, you are crushing it, right? Okay, so let's look at this video review. Here we go.
Widzę.
Killer!
J'avais 20 ans, je caressais le temps et jouais de la nuit comme on joue de l'amour. Et je liais la nuit sans compter sur mes jours qui fuyaient dans le temps. J'ai fait tant de projets qui sont restés en l'air. J'ai fondé tant d'espoirs qui se sont envolés, que je reste perdue, ne sachant où aller, les yeux cherchant le ciel. Hier encore, j'avais 20 ans, je gaspillais le temps en croyant l'arrêter, mais pour le retenir, même le penser, je n'ai fait que courir et me suis essoufflée, ignorant le passé, conjuguant le futur.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm going to pause that there. That, you know what? I can actually just let that play again. I'll just pause it if I can. Okay, so you have such a lovely feeling, Nancy. Such a lovely feeling for dance. Really cool, really cool. Yeah, nice. Is he your teacher? I'm not sure, but either way, beautiful, very nice partnership. Okay, so I like your posture, like the way you're holding your upper back and things like that, because it's not like in and out, in and out. And of course, we can work on that a bit more. But I think there's two things I want you to look at. One is going to be being more aware of that lowering action to create a better, what I would call breathing, right? So there's a feeling, by the way, for those who do American Smooth, like don't be afraid to send me those videos, okay? Because when it comes to human movement, there are principles that carry across the waltzes, okay? And what I draw upon from here is the nouveau dances that we do, and then I look at the waltz and I look at Latin, right? So we're looking at three things: the movement from, say, ballroom, combined with the arms of Latin, and then of course the feel for your actual style. Now, if we look at the legs and then the arms, that'll be plenty. So that's that right there, for example. This is a good spot right here. Okay, so that's a nice line. Now here, when you come out of that, for example, here, that right leg you're on, you need to lower more and then step on the heel. And what that will do, so let's see where that was, right here. So boom, oh, whoopsies. Yeah. Okay, cool, boom, 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 boom. And then, now, by the way, I might not have any idea what the names are called, so I'm not even gonna try that, but you're on your right leg, you're developing the left leg, okay? So at that point, right there, you want, where am I? You're gonna want your, so, there. So you got your right leg, shape it by turning it out. Okay, that's angle doesn't quite work. Right, boom, there, bop, bop, bop. Okay, now notice this left leg. So whatever you're doing, when I want to take that next step, okay, you can see how I've shaped the leg. All right, so there, little bend, slightly straight, turn the foot out. Now, all your lines do that type of action. Now, when you come out of it, lower and connect with the floor so you can rise out of it into the next step. You understand? So you're not just like plonking the foot. You want to always create that sort of breathe into whatever the next bit is. And you'll find that because you're already creating flight, right? Like you are swinging around the room very nicely. And the more you can understand how to use the legs a little bit, now not harshly, but that lower way and then come out, you're going to fly beautifully. Then when you create a turn out of it, so what's that next little bit here? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Boom, boom, boom. So you are using your leg as well. So don't think you're not doing that. Okay, so I was on the wrong leg. That's awesome. So I should be standing on the right leg, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, so left, boom, then turn. Okay, so I'll stand on the right leg this time. Same idea though. So I'll turn the foot out, boom, create the shape. Then I'll lower, and I want to connect with the floor so I can then create my turn, boom, into the next part. Now, if you want to create turns better, start to shape the head in the direction of the turn, so you're almost spiraling the body, okay? So all counts that you're lowering, so if I just quickly do this here, so lower, 1, 2, 3, lower there. So that all the count threes, 2, 3, lower, 1, you can actually do more lowering and driving out of it. That'll change the look and feel. Okay. On that, I would try to pass him a little more. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, now that will definitely aid the movement. One thing that's really interesting about dancing is you're not trying to compete against your partner for movement. But as a lady, you do want to, as a man, you want to feel the lady is very active, and it makes you want to move a bit more too as the man, okay? So don't be afraid of that. Now, in terms of the arms, you have nice styling for sure. So some people can have the styling, but their look is like deformed, right? Like their arms don't look nice. So you got a nice feel. Now, what I'd like to do is to finish the movement. So if you present an arm out, sometimes you can follow it with your head. It really depends on the step, right? But let's say you're following it with your head. You want, see how I'm positioning it and shaping? Now, you're doing that, but it's not completely finished, is it? So even the hands have a gesture to it. So one of the things that will fundamentally, so let's run a quick exercise, everyone. Clench your fist, right? And then move your arm out softly. Doesn't quite work, does it? So you want your hand, now relax it like a jellyfish, like wiggle the fingers like a piano player. Yep. Okay, get that feeling. See, I'm presenting, bum, and then you can like turn and soften. See those sorts of ideas, like push. It's called, we call it pushing heavy air. So you can create movements like bum and then push. You see that? And it's like, in a way, it's almost like you're leaving your movement behind and then going into the next bit. One of the good things about the arms in dance is that if you want to turn fast, where am I? If you want to turn fast, the more that you can like get your arm to come around quickly, like the easier turns can actually be. So now in terms of speed of arms, let's look at that for a second. So you're going to get your arms to go, sometimes they're going to be nice and all even, and other times you're going to need to go bang and then slow, right? You see that? That will separate you on the dance floor for sure, because you already have the structure. So now start adding in some color. Okay, so movements are not black and white. Black, right? White. You need to have some speed. Boom, right? So how do you do that? Practice just what I'm doing now. Move your arms around loosely, yeah? Shape the fingers. Just do weird movements to start with, yeah? The base is strong, your arms can be free. I'll give you a final technique tip for everyone, especially because these are long broadcasts and I appreciate your time. The idea in dancing is akin to a beautiful tree. So you've got your roots, which are like the foundation, which are the legs and the feet. You need those to be solid, right? The trunk itself is like your body. You want that to be solid, and so you're holding it. Now, more bamboo than a solid oak tree. The branches, though, need to be able to move in the wind. That's your arms. And then the flowers on the end of the tree, let's say it's a blossom, are like the styling, the decoration, yeah? So if you have a strong roots and trunk, you have the ability to allow your arms and hands to do like beautiful movements, yes? And then bring them in and around, and you can control all of that. And your arms are not going to be affected because tension, as we know, is created by losing balance, which means poor roots, poor trunk, etc. So if we come back to your arms, let's use a specific example that everyone can benefit from, and we'll get the music up. Yeah, so if you drive more, that's going to work well there. So when that see there, yeah. See how that arm just shot out to the side? So your right arm's up and your left arm's around. So this is a bit small, isn't it? But so your right arm is up and your left arm is around. You're going to want to shape the head like that. See, then the hand comes through. And then you want to have more energy, probably depending on the lead and all that at the beginning. So you can have like that sort of feeling, right? Do you understand? So you want to try to not turn everything at the same speed and then just put the arm out. Okay, so if we can create, so that's the hold there, boom, boom, whatever, and then use that arm. It can go sort of out and around, warm, and then through. Okay, I hope that's starting to make sense. It's a little hard sometimes communicating. What on earth? My God, I'm hitting buttons. Anyway, so for everyone here to take away, we've got arms going at constant speed, right? And then the hands create a gesture at the end. So If you can, as a last part of this, get your hands to do movements like that. So we're going out, finish, right? They can do a little, I wouldn't roll too much, but you can add those in and push. Try not to ever have the palm up. See how that goes and send me the video. Good legs, connect with the floor for better movement with your partner, because there are moments in the beginning, like the promenades, where you can definitely go further. And then use the arm and follow it out at the end. That's going to be part of your expression, okay? Now, smiling, just quickly, yes, that's important, but where do you think that can come from? Like, even if you don't smile, do you think you can be a beautiful dancer? And the answer is yes. Most people would agree. Your dancing looks very nice, right? So what do you do then? Does smiling make it better? Well, performance value, sure. But I know there was world champions that never smile, right? Now, would they looked better if they smiled? Yeah, yeah, for sure. It didn't change their dancing though, right? So because their expression was in their body. Get what I mean? Now, Latin lends itself more than the waltz, but the idea being, don't practice smiling, but be aware of your face, okay? Because practicing smiling, you just look like the Joker, and it's weird because it stays plastered. The feeling should come from within to out. So when you do an arm movement, just experiment with this. If your arm is boring, like it feels boring when it moves, you are not going to be inspired. If you can get a feeling in your arms, your face lightens up, you understand? So the physiology of movement actually creates an emotional feeling in your body. So keep that in the forefront of your mind, okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're doing great. You're doing great. We're not done. We are not done. We're coming on to the home stretch though. So let's look at this. This is what you're saying before, coming back to Nancy's question. Solomon as well, where are you? Yes, you've been dancing for 20 years, training with a new partner. She's only been dancing for 4. Whenever we've been together and practice, she gets anxiety attacks and simply forgets how to dance. Especially in front of people and cameras, it's getting really frustrating. How do you suggest we get past this? Okay, get a new partner. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that at all. Now, one of the problems with dancing for 20 years is, and I'm known for being quite direct. Length of time doesn't mean you're also good at dancing. So you can dance for 20 years and not be that good. Now, I'm not saying you're not good, but I'm saying that the length of time doesn't mean that you're actually competent at leading or guiding a lady through a performance on the dance floor in stressful conditions. Now, it also means that there's a curse of knowledge. Being around so long, you can pick up a lot of stuff. So you can know a lot of things, but maybe not be able to do it. Why is that important? Because there can be a tendency to have that projected onto a partner, which causes them to have more stress. So I'm going to say, first of all, for you, what sort of environment do you foster for her to develop in? Now, you can't own her anxiety, but you can definitely create it. So, men, uh, so I was like this too. I get so intense, man, when I practice that I know I created stressful situations for my partner. So I was aware of that, and I tried to create an environment that was as positive as could be, but I couldn't control my partner's stress and anxiety and all her shit, right? So particularly around that time of the month, and that did play a factor. So I'm not being denigrating here. The hormonal changes do make a difference in younger women, right, and things like that. Now that may not be a problem in this case, but the factor is creating a good environment. Number one, that is very important. How is that going to be to create the best chance for you all to dance together? Because you want to reduce the anxiety. Now, this is going to follow perfectly into Nancy's question and what I want to talk about, what I talked about with Dwight. So if you've been hanging around, this is going to be a good payoff for everyone to just feel good and so we can all develop. The environment that you're in matters. So a coach who's constantly yelling at a student isn't going to get the best out of them. There's a time to be like really intense, but that intensity all the time kills the progress and the passion and actually creates more anxiety towards practice and training and lessons. So create a good environment. Number 2, when it comes to studio to stage transition, like Dwight's free throw in practice, 90% shot rate, NBA game day, pressure's on, everyone's watching him, the lights are up, you're hot, the team's relying on you, this could be make or break, quite literally for the record books, right? That pressure's real, isn't it? So, okay, what do you do? Do you try to get to a point of no anxiety? Do you realize how much that's going to fuck you? You can't not have it. So let's define anxiety here. I need to be very aware for both of you that I don't know you. I don't understand her background, and I don't know what you mean by anxiety, and I don't know what she means by anxiety either. So we can't deal with the trauma she has. I don't know if she's doing any work with a psychologist, right? So let's say there's anxiety coming from a mental condition or an unresolved trauma. So those things are real and they do affect performance, but I can't speak to those. What I can speak to is the performance anxiety we all get, and understanding the more you try to get rid of it, the more you sort of create. It's a weird paradox. So what do? You learn to operate with it. The idea is like get the butterflies to fly in formation, right? So when it comes to the practice itself and then the studio work you're doing, what you aim to do is when the lesson is occurring, allow all that information to come in. Like really learn and listen, both of you, okay? When the music comes on, you have to let it go. You can't actually think of that. If you make a mistake, your body will tell you, you'll know. When the music stops or you finish dancing, think about what you need to do and then like readjust. Maybe go through the step again slowly, but always try to do it. Always try to set it up for better execution. Always. Like that's paramount. So the idea being that I was talking about with Dwight was you learn or you listen to the feedback, right? You let it go when the music is on, not when when that's on, because that's the performance practice. And then you have to execute, right? So the execution's key because you execute in two ways. One is executing the technique, and that's what everyone gets stuck on. And we need to separate from that for performance to actually execute without thinking about the technique, without thinking about the mistakes. And so what do you do with that? Well, there's a few options, but one of those is just you notice it's there like a, sort of a balloon, just let it hang out, like let it flow away. Don't actually pay it attention. Just know the mistake's there, but don't give it conscious attention because what you focus on expands, and where the energy goes, focus flows. So if you're like, I made a mistake, oh God, and then you're in that mistake the rest of the routine, like you're not going to get the best out of yourself, right? So, but this is hard, isn't it? Okay, so in theory, like this makes sense. This is great information. The practicing is where this happens in the studio. Now, most people try to do this on game day. You can't. It's just the stakes are too high. It's too hard. So you try it in the studio, and you give yourself a rule. When the music's on, you switch your mindset, right? You switch and reframe into a few options. Option one, the music only. So you're listening only to the music and just letting your body take over, right? Option two, you're turning into a character that performs. So again, your identity as a dad, a father, a business owner, a professional, there are multiple identities we all have. So you can create one for dancing. It's like the actor's technique. So it's not you, right? You're not being judged. And this is part of the problem. A lot of us think that, and again, I've had to deal with this myself, that Vaughan, the inner me, the real me, whatever that means, is being criticized or judged. It's not. It's the dancing and it's the identity that you're leading within that dance, right? And that's it. So that's almost like a front you can have. It's great, like masking or a persona. It's so good because it's not your partner and it's not you, right? Even though it's a reflection upon maybe you or whatever, or how you handle all that. But the point is that you can create an identity around your dancing, and you should do that, right? You do it by how you dress, by how you walk, how you comb your hair, or if you don't have hair, how clean shaven you are, right? All of that actually matters, doesn't it? Because like I didn't start off wearing black and then like combing my hair back like this, but once I started doing that and taking my posture more seriously and acting like a dancer, it really helped tremendously, right? Now, am I that all the time? No, I'm also a dad, and so I'm also many, many things. So I wear literally, are you ready for it? Different hats. Ha ha, that was good. Bang. So create the positive environment, yeah? Then learn to switch between performance mode and when you need to be technical. Don't try to mix the two. It certainly can't happen on game day. Now, you have to practice that. And you don't want to practice that in front of people at a competition, okay? So I'll give you a quick example because you can't see the inner workings of dancers, right? But if we were to use, so the music's on.
desconocida, traicionando lo más puro de mi ser. Surgió ante mí la verdad en estampida, sacudiendo mi existencia hasta caer. Pero a pesar de la...
Now, with music and the routine that I was dancing, I was just really trying to get into the music as best as I could. I felt it, man. It was great. Now, when the music's not on, I was aware, like I actually took more time than I normally do for one of those steps. So I didn't let that get in my head though. I actually just used it more, right? And that takes practice. Now, if the music's not on, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to think about my technique. I'm going to think about like, what is my foot doing? Am I picking it up? How much turnout? Is that too much? Does it hurt? Okay, my hand. So how's my body? Where's my hand? So I'm not trying to dance with like feeling, right? I'm trying to get the technique to function a little better. Boom. All right, and more settling. So if I'm with a partner here, especially if she's younger in her experience, hell yes, I'm needing to do a lot more slow time and work together to get our balance correct, right? Because without all that technical stuff working, the confidence isn't going to be there, more anxiety, right? So we do need to technically develop. When the music comes on though, what did I say? You need to let it go. Don't be an asshole and be like, you aren't dancing well enough, right, for me. Or you should be dancing better by now, blah, 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 whatever. In fact, and I love these Q&As because they give me so many ideas. And yeah, you're gonna have to, you can press pause at any time, but don't do it. Because here's the thing, and this is really good for you to know, Solomon, and everyone who dances comp. You are not judged on your technique. Ha ha. So we spend all this time getting worried about how our feet look and all that sort of thing, which again, set everything up, but that is not what you're judged on, right? There's three things. There is the, what do you call it? The content. So let's say that's the technique. There's the tone and the body language, yeah? The technique is less than 7%. It's like a speech. What I'm saying now, the words matter, right? The content matters, but how I say it matters more, okay? Through tone and body language. You understand? That's actually how you learn more and pick up my message better than the words I say. So if I was monotone with everything the whole time, but my content was amazing, you would have been gone. There's no way you'd stay a member, right? So think about that with dancing. So what do? Well, we're worried about our routine and we're worried about our technique. Your routine, it does matter to an extent for 7% of the time, okay? And so does your technique. So your feet can be trash and you can still do really well. In fact, I know people in your situation, Solomon, that had a young girl come in, like 2 years of dancing, absolute trash in their technique, but they lifted their game because they wanted to be good for the experienced dancer like yourself. They wanted to prove themselves. So you might just have anxiety because she's not good enough, right? This is the limiting beliefs that Dwight and I were talking about, the limiting beliefs that kick in. Don't think this is an all-star that he doesn't have these problems that you and I have. They're bigger, right, in a way. But she might not be comfortable because she's like, God, this guy's like been around so long, or he's so good that I just can't do it. But what ends up happening if you create their environment, she will lift real quick. Like she will do more in like a couple of years with you than like she could in 10 years, starting with someone at her level. That's the power you have if you create the right opportunities and you be smart in the way you approach things and you just listen to what I tell you, even if you don't like it. Right? You don't have to accept what I'm saying, but just think about it and know a lot of it makes sense and then go try it and see what happens, okay? Now, you're not responsible for your partner, okay? You're not responsible for how they feel. You're not responsible for them turning up on time. You're not responsible for their dancing, but you are responsible for leading, right? As a man, leading this together, all right? Now, tone and body language are what you're being judged on. So this is why you work on posture and the arms and the movement so much, because at comp, if your feet are trash, but your upper body's amazing, you're expressive, that's who wins, my friends, not the people with the best technique with dull, monotone expression. You get what I'm saying? So again, that's how you start separating from, I suppose, what's it called? The analysis paralysis. So, thinking only of the mistakes in technique and trying to do that to music at speed. Into performance mode. And the performance mode is now focusing on body language and the tone. How are you appearing? Are your eyes down the whole time? Where are you looking? That is what is seen, isn't it? Now, experienced judges will look at the feet, of course, but that is not being judged on. So you see the difference now. So when that music kicks in, tone and body language, get into the music, get into your persona. There's your options, right? And when there's no music, what do? Get analysis, right? Analysis. Get into the technique, get into the partnership. You understand? Try it, guys. It really, really helped me. Just so you know, it is a skill. The thing I was pressing on Dwight was how long did it take for him to get 90% shots into the basket, right? Think about that. He didn't start off there, did he? So he figured out a way to do it. I said, tell me about your setup to shoot the ball. And he was like, oh, yeah, yeah. So I do this and then this. And I said, does it change? He's like, oh, no, no, no. Because why? Because he's wired it so he knows that will get him the chance to have the 90% in. If he changed his setup to shoot, what ends up happening? Anxiety, okay? Stress, not the helpful stress, not the stress that's going to make you perform well, all right? Which we'll get onto in quite a second. So I said, okay, in dancing, we're creating that skill ourselves, but just no one teaches it. I mean, I do, but no one talks about this shit, right? They really don't. You are setting up a skill for how to switch between modes. Yeah. Now, some people are really gifted and they can just perform all the time. Most people are not that because they get too in their head. So keep that in mind. You're developing a skill. It takes time to develop a skill. You've been doing it 20 years. She's been doing it 4. You're going to have more skills. Even like I said before, you may not be good. That I just said it generically. You will be better than her, right? In that sense. So the skill development now is going to be learning to switch between the two. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect the first time, like nothing is. So you might go into a competition, you still may have the same anxiety even after hearing all of this. But you have to go back and think, learn from that, then go into like letting go of it, don't carry that mistake forward, and then execute better. Do you understand? So those things really, really are profound. Now, last thing about the anxiety side of things with dancing and stress, there's good stress and bad stress, so to speak. I don't really like those terms, but funnily enough, you know, there is a difference. And we do need someone who's complacent I always get worried about those people in comp. They definitely suck the most and they're just the worst dancers, right? They're just bored. They're not nervous. There's no excitement in them. So we want a nervous energy that helps us perform. And on the bell curve, it's sort of like in the middle, optimal performance. Too much anxiety, you overthink and you are stressed out of your mind, and not enough, and you actually don't perform enough, right? One of the reasons I love these lives is because I start getting that performance anxiety myself, and I've learned to regulate it so I'm not over the top excited, but I'm like up a higher level. So out of my top 10 energy, I'd be like an 8 or a 9. That's where I want to be to deliver for you. But you know, when I wake up out of bed, I might be like a 3 or a 4, right? So you got to find a way to increase that and get in that space. Okay, how are you feeling? You good? Thank you for staying with me on this. Nancy, that will definitely help you as well. And I'm going to get off and actually give Dwight a call right now. So if you would like some merchandise, please visit ballroommastery.tv/merch hyphen drop. I'll put a link in the window. Just sign up on the list if you want to get some of the things that we're going to create for you. And if you actually want something, so I'm going to create some like hoodies, some t-shirts, some leggings, branded, of course, cool hat. But if there's something specific you might want, like a bag, like a dance bag or something like that, I've got some other ideas too in the pipeline. Let me know, right? Your feedback is so valuable because you are the reason I do this, people. You members, the people who you pay me money so I can deliver for you. And I really value that, and it's what allows us to work beautifully together. So I want to thank you for being here. I know this was a long one, but I blame you guys for exciting me. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.